and welcome to the Fantasy Rewind Podcast. I'm your co-host, Dylan Stoll, and I'm joined as always by my friend, Michael Whifford.
Hey!
So today, we're going to be diving back into Willow, episode 6, titled...
Prisoners of Skellin.
The Prisoners of Skellin. Alright, so before we get into our episode deep dive here, I'm going to give out the typical reminders. If you want to email the show, you can do so at fantasyrewindpod@gmail.com. You could always also get at us on Twitter, which is at fantasyrewind. Or we're on Instagram, which is at fantasyrewindpod. Alright, so without any farther delay, let's dive into the rewind.
Fantasy Rewind. Okay, so episode 6, Dylan, what were your big impressions, big thoughts on this episode?
So overall, I actually quite liked this episode. I thought that it had a lot of cool beats that I enjoyed. Some kind of funny ones as well, like when the trolls first get introduced, like, oh, hello there. Just basically reminding me of Jim Carrey's Grinch and the way that they talked.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely.
And just like having them be like we talked about last episode, having the trolls have a society, albeit one that's a little bit brutal and seemed a little bit deceptive, actually, in their nature. But I thought it was a fun episode. I thought it was a good return to form of what I was hoping for with this series after a little bit of a letdown for me personally in episode 5. What about you?
Yeah, but without episode 5, we don't get this episode, so...
True.
Hand in hand, right?
True.
I'd agree with pretty much everything you said there. I really enjoyed this episode. I thought this was, again, going back on that path of just increasing the quality of each episode and how the story's progressing. I really liked Allagash's character and how he was introduced and the role he played in all this. Kind of sad that he's gone already.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was really interesting because, like, he comes in and they're like, who are you? I'm Mad Mardigan. And we're like, no, you're not. Stop lying.
Yeah.
And then everyone basically turns on him and is like, come on, who are you really? We know Mad Mardigan. You're not him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that Allagash was a fun addition to the episode. One of the things about this episode that I thought was quite interesting, and we can talk about this a little bit more in depth if you want to, but it's the concept of a reliable narrator and how that applies to both Allagash as well as to our little broman friend there for Borman.
Yeah, Borman.
Yeah. About how, like, who is actually telling the truth? Are either of them actually telling the truth? And, like, how much of the truth is being told? Because both of these characters, Allagash and Borman, rely heavily on the fact that nobody else was there. You can't confirm or deny what I'm saying. And just having that aspect be illustrated in the way it was on the show when these two opposite tales come to a head was very interesting.
Yeah, it was. And I want to say it wasn't quite as satisfactory as I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Like, it did end up turning into kind of a, like, sort of a funny moment, with them fighting. And you still leave this episode like, I don't know who actually told the truth.
Exactly what I wanted to bring up, yeah.
And it's kind of funny because, like, Kit and nobody else sort of is just like, well, which one of you actually is telling the truth? No one sort of made them come out with it. And at certain points you thought, okay, well, Borman told the truth. Or no, okay, Allagash told the truth. And so if that's the intention of, the producers and the writers for this episode to, like, us leaving and being like, is Borman actually good? Is he not? Like, we don't know what actually happened. And I'm sure by the end of the season, or at least by the end of the series, we will have an answer to that. But I'm really interested to see how this sort of falls out, or if there's any fallout at all. There might not be.
Yeah, and like one of the things that I was really expecting there to be was some sort of resolution as to, okay, whose side of the story is actually factual. And we kind of got that answer a little bit with Allagash sacrificing himself to, like, take on the trolls, but it almost seemed like a worthless and needless sacrifice on his part.
Oh, agreed. Yeah.
But, like, at the same time, like, it seemed to me like that was almost an admission of guilt, in a sense.
Yeah, I do too. That was sort of probably my lasting thought on it, was him sacrificing himself. The one little snippet between him and Borman where, because he's wearing the cuirass, he had the key, I guess, but he got hurt with it. And Borman was like, it's because you lied, or because, like, you weren't worthy or whatever. And I don't know. One, I don't even know if that's actually the Curious.
Exactly what I was going to say as well. I was going to say, is that even the Curious? Because it looked like a rusted piece of, like, leather.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah, I was like, that's not really the Curious, is it?
No. But yeah, I thought that, all in all, that tension between Borman and Allagash provided a nice little stepping stone for that concept of unreliable narrator. But again, I really wish there was a little bit more resolution, and I wish it was addressed by other characters, like you brought up, because Kit kind of is like, well, just tell me what happened to my dad. I don't care about this, like, pissing contest between you two. Like, what's going on here? Like, tell me the truth. Where's my dad? Yeah. And so I'm really interested to see if, like, they do have it be that Mad Mardigan is in this other dimension or other realm because of Kit, like, hearing those voices calling to her. But one of the things, I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself.
No, you're good. You're good.
But one of the things I wanted to bring up too is that Kit, again, just reminded me of why I hate her as a character in this episode, because of her reaction to the voice of Mad Mardigan saying, protect Alora, basically. And she's like, my dad always cared about you more than me. I hate you.
I know, but at least in this case, it's validated in a sense, because she was like, I'm so close. I just got to go through this weird doorway, which there's no explanation for or anything. And I just want, like, a little bit more information about where he went, like, what happened there. Like, it almost felt like that whole scene in the tomb was too rushed.
It did.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
And I just wanted a little bit more time, a little bit more exposition, just something there. But the reason Kit had to leave and she didn't end up going in there is because of Alora Dannon. And because Alora Dannon's been having this weird, like, allergic reaction to the troll layer the entire time. It's caused them to have to, like, it's caused the cave-ins and all this. And so, like, they had to leave because, she was kind of causing the destruction of the cave. So in a sense, I do understand, like, I'm about to find out what happened to my dad, and, like, you're ruining it. You ruined it. Like, this is, so yeah, I can understand that tension coming up like that, but, like, he always chose you, like, you didn't even know she was Alora Dannon. But then again, he did go on the quest for Alora Dannon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess as I'm talking through that a bit more, I'm thinking I could see that. She's lost her dad because...
Yeah, but taking on the quest, he chose Alora over her, even though Alora was this hidden figure, basically, that wasn't present.
Correct. And everyone just keeps saying, like, your dad wanted you to protect Alora, and she's just like, it's always about her. It's never about me. And so I can see that this time. I actually wrote down in my notes that I felt like this was actually the first justified, like, response.
See, I kind of took it a little bit differently, because I took that whispering to be, was that actually Mad Mardigan? Was that actually, like, your dad calling out to you from the void somewhere? Or was that, like, the crone or someone else, like, trying to tempt you and lure you in? And you had no way of knowing. And if you go through this mysterious magical doorway, who knows what could happen? You could find your dad. You could also become dead. So it was like one of those things where you don't know for sure. It wasn't your dad standing there telling you to run and protect Alora as the cave collapsed around him. It was a disembodied voice calling from a magical doorway, and you chose to believe its words. So again, not necessarily sure if that was meant to be a trap, if it was meant to be Mad Mardigan for real, or what it was. But that was my takeaway of that episode on a whole.
Yeah, I mean, that's good. I was honestly hoping that they would have found something more in Wiggle, like some more magical artifacts or something in Wiggleheim's tomb, because I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, this is, like, the first Nelwyn that we've heard of that's, like, legendary and people know about him and all this, and I'm just like, oh, this is so neat. Like, let's learn more. I'm hoping I get a little bit, some story here. Maybe Willow explains, like, his lore.
Yeah, why is he famous?
Nothing. Because he found some treasures, including the Curious. Like, what? Why is he buried in this, like, the bottom of the troll sanctum?
Maybe the trolls, like, defiled his tomb and the area around it, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah, why is it there?
Yeah, it's just we've been getting some really neat story beats, some really interesting things, because this world needs a lot of building, because the original Willow movie didn't really do a great job with that.
Right.
And that's okay.
And then the
fine.
subsequent books can be discounted because they are not they're not canon, basically.
Yeah, they're not following. Yeah, what happened here, which is again, that's fine,
totally fine.
But but I mean, like, we have this opportunity to really build this world out. Take the 30 seconds, take the extra minute, and do that. But whatever. Anyway, I do kind of want to jump in and kind of go through the different parts of the episode, because we did have a lot going on in this episode, including we were opening up to the huge city again where Eric is. He's just hanging out. I really like this scene because, as much as they like breeze past and do some humorous stuff, and I'm just like, you don't necessarily need to do that. Like, this is great because
I love this part.
They kind of broke out of a fantasy trope where you hear the whispering of something like, come to me, accept this. And the character is usually just like, oh, okay. Or like, what's that voice? Let me follow it. And it's just like always leads to whatever. In this case, like, I was like, oh, please don't do this. Eric like hears the whispering from the crone, and he's just like, yeah, no thanks, I'm good. Gets up and just walks out of the city. I'm like, yeah.
He's like, nope, I'm out. And just goes.
It was really good. I was just like, that's perfect. That's perfect. We do end up coming back to him later on in the episode, because even though he keeps walking and he's just like in this desert-ish mountain area, I guess, I don't know, he gets turned around and ends up coming back to the city.
He gets turned around, or like it's some kind of like magical like barrier.
Spell,
you can't really leave. You can wander, but you're gonna come back.
Yeah, and I definitely suspected as well that it's magic, but he ends up coming back. I'm just gonna finish his story.
Absolutely.
Because I think right at the end of the episode, he ends up coming back. He drinks out of this weird fountain, and I was like sitting there, is that the elixir?
Yeah, I was like, is that the elixir the trolls have been making this whole time?
Yeah, which apparently is just liquid evil.
Yeah.
Not sure how they make it either.
They get it from people they kill.
Ah, okay. I wasn't quite drawing it. I was like, I'm not quite sure.
At least that was my impression.
Yeah, it seems like, they get it from people they kill. Okay.
Or torture.
Or torture. And I was like, oh, that's not good. I was like, I could definitely see that then incentivizing him to turn into evil.
Yep.
But then he hears this voice yelling, and this woman has been captured.
Oh, was she now?
Who's very, very pretty. And you get that music at the end there where it's like the love music. And what we know about Eric is that he is definitely a man who
appreciates the fairer sex.
Yes, and falls in love very easily, apparently. So that's definitely gonna be some tension when he runs into Alora Dannon, and he's got this new arm candy who's probably evil in there to corrupt him.
Well, I mean, Alora's got Graydon.
Yeah, that's true. And then she's gonna show up and Eric, and he's gonna be like, oh yeah, sorry, Dove, I'm with Pigeon now.
I'm glad you brought up this woman being evil, because it to me is clear and obvious this is either the crone or a crony of the crone. Yeah, because crony. This woman here is clearly, she's that like attractive evil is what kind of how I'm kind of viewing it. Like she's the evil queen who's like the fairest of them all.
Gonna transform into a zombie or something.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty obvious trap there, but that's okay. Once we get past Eric, we get back into like the trolls. They have Willow and Kit as prisoners. I really like the trolls. I like how they were presented. I love that it was practical effects, not CG. Thought it was really well done. Honestly, it stayed true to the 80s sort of
fit right in
vibe. And I loved how they were sort of, the entire time they're grunting, and you're just like, oh my gosh, these guys are just bestial. And then all of a sudden, a couple come in and they just start like, oh, hello, my name is Lord Salus, and this is my brother Falcon. And I was like, oh, wow, they're really well-spoken. Oh, really polite. And then all of a sudden, Kit's like, I'm Kit of Tirisleen. Let me out. And he's like, you're going to die in here. Sorry.
He's like, I'm going to kill you. Having a good day.
Yeah, I know. It was really funny. I like that, the sort of...
Yeah. The cross between his polite banter and what he's actually saying was just so nice. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, it was really well done. Obviously, they saw the man who claimed to be Man Mardigan, like we talked about, who ends up being Allagash. probably one of my favorite characters in the series thus far. And the reason I say that is because his mixture of just like quick wit was very much like Borman-esque, but he also had like a craziness to him, which is very reminiscent of Mad Mardigan. He sort of like embodied more of Mad Mardigan, just like Borman's.
Yeah, and I mean, I think to me that just shows that in this series, in this world, that those types of characters are the showstoppers. That's why Mad Mardigan was so well liked, because of his mixture of crazy spontaneity, humor, and just kind of cool fighter. You know, just being the cool fighter guy in the party.
Yeah, absolutely. So Borman and the crew are sneaking in. We find out that the trolls actually work for the Crone, which was good because that sort of explained why they wouldn't be like this advanced civilization. They're dedicated to evil because of the elixir that they're making, which the Crone taught them to make, which makes them stronger and faster. And it's what apparently Graydon had inside of him, the goo that turned him evil, and what Ballantyne had inside of him, which I thought was interesting. So apparently if you drink the elixir, it makes you evil. Yeah.
Or brings out your inner evil.
Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, I don't know. I felt like, I was like, I feel like that just needs a little bit more explanation as to how that works. They're not going to because magic. But
that seems to be a theme, though, in Willow so far, is we just want a little bit more, and then they don't quite give it to you. But it's still, you know, you can still ride with it if you're riding loose.
Yeah, you're willing to have a little bit of disbelief, which is fine because this episode is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So we find out though that Allura is sort of allergic to this place and she can't really control it, and she sort of has this moment like we talked about last time where she's like doubting herself. She was all high on her like power, and then she's like, this episode she's doubting herself. She's telling Jade like, I can't control this. Like, I don't know how to. I thought I had a handle, but I really don't. And it's like, well, yeah, and you shouldn't. You've only been learning how to do spells for like a week.
If that.
Yeah. And you're not a very good student either.
You're a terrible student.
So she's sneezing and like sort of sending out like shockwaves into the earth. She does end up losing Shalendria's wand as her, Borman, and Jade are sort of traversing the trolldom. It's funny because Borman's leading them to find the Cuirass in Wiggleheim's tomb, and once Allagash and the crew escapes because of Allura Danon's like magical sneezes, could have said thank you for that. Allagash is leading him down to the tomb as well, and so like we knew they were going to meet up. Pretty quickly here, and they do when Borman can't find the door. Allagash shows up, and they subsequently fight, which ends up with them basically slapping each other on the floor, just like a bunch of little cats. So that was kind of cute. Now, the fight scene with the trolls was a lot of fun as well, because we kind of talked about like the tomb and all that. Like they go in the tomb, they have to answer some riddles, which weren't really anything too complicated.
Did you watch this with Alexis, first of all?
No.
Okay. So when they were doing the riddles in Wiggleheim's tomb there, were you trying to solve the riddles yourself or no?
Yeah, because I've heard those before. So
you have? You've heard both of them before?
I'm pretty sure I heard I'd heard the second one before.
See, I had not heard the second one before.
So that was the one I had heard before.
Okay.
And the one in the first one, I think I could have figured out, but like they said the answer pretty fast.
Oh yeah, that one. So my wife Amy and we were watching the show together, and they did the first riddle, and we both immediately just like said the answer right before they did on the show, and we're like, yeah, we're so good. And then it comes out with the second one, and then we're like, had no idea what it was. And I never heard that one before, and neither did Amy. And then they say nothing. I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. Wow. But yeah, thought that was a little fun little bit.
Again, in the tomb scene though, I did want everyone to kind of go in and like explore and like see some of the cool things. This would have been such a cool opportunity for world building, just by like, oh, this is this from this area,
name drops
and
a little bit,
like start teasing out some more of like what's happening in the universe and everything. And unfortunately, like that didn't happen, and that's okay. Like they really wanted this to be sort of a quick, frantic scene.
Yeah,
whatever. we have them coming back out. All the trolls are there like, hey, we're going to kill you now. Except for Laura Dannon, which apparently is like 2 of you. So everyone else.
So real quick, I want to mention here that we have these trolls who are hopped up on Elixir.
Yeah.
That are supposed to be bigger, faster, stronger than you.
Yeah.
And they're getting taken out by Kit.
Well, yeah, that sword, her finding her dad's sword apparently made her the best swordsman.
Yeah, so I just thought that was like an odd little tidbit there, because you have, again, these supercharged trolls getting taken out by like a 15-year-old girl, 16-year-old girl, who apparently isn't even that good of a sword fighter, but she's too much for them. And I was like, okay, that, I get it, because, plot, but come on.
I will say, too, though, they don't wear any kind of armor or anything, so, like, it's just, like, sword thrust, you're gone. So, I mean, that is one thing with them, but I agree. I was expecting a little bit more, but it was a fun little scene. You have them escaping through this grate. Kit's having this last sort of conversation with the Allagash, who gave the Cuirass to Borman, and he was just, like, injured and just, like, I'm going to have my last stand here, basically, and just protect Laura Dannon, and closes the great honor. And
I actually think that Allagash's sacrifice was more to protect Kit than Alora, and kind of make up to Madmartigan for whatever he did with him by saving his daughter.
Correct. What's going to be funny is, like, next season, if there is a second season, I haven't looked into it, and Madmartigan is in it. And he comes back and he's like, oh yeah, he's like, I betrayed both of you.
Like, I was the one that betrayed Allagash and Borman.
And then they get in an argument. No, I betrayed. Like, something like that,
Like, stupid. Borman's really trying to find Madmartigan so we can punch him in the face or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good. Anyway, so as I said earlier, Laura Dannon lost Schlenger's wand. She finds it on the floor in this weird, like, I don't know, I thought it was lava.
Hardened mucus, hardened evil elixir room, or whatever.
Not quite sure what's underneath the rock. But anyway, if a rock comes down and breaks this, it then immediately seals back up. So yeah, it's kind of weird. And, Kit, this is the moment you were talking about. Kit's mad at Laura, yelling at her. And I had said, like, this was acceptable, and the rock comes down, breaks, Kit falls in. Willow can't break through the rock, which is kind of weird. But then Laura Dannon is trying, and it's like, oh no, it ends like she can't do it. But we know, like, next episode, she's just going to blow a hole in it.
Right. But the interesting thing about this is that if this is the liquid evil, which I think it is, then Kit is going to be drowning in it, swallowing some of it, getting it inside of her as well, just like her brother Eric did when he took a sip out of the evil drink well.
Yeah. I don't know, because would this be the liquid evil? Because they had that upstairs. That's the distiller, like, where they distill it. So this must be like,
maybe I don't know, in its raw form. I'm not sure.
No, I don't know either. It'll be interesting. I'm sure we'll get some maybe half-baked explanation for it, but hopefully we'll get something. I'm sure that'll be an interesting plot point if she is infected in some way, shape, or form. But that's it for this episode. A lot of action in it, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely one of my favorite episodes of the season so far, if not my favorite, because of just how fun it was. Like you said, it was this cool, like, dungeon romp, basically, that did feel self-contained in the fact that, it all took place basically within the troll prison. The one piece of unresolved information we didn't get in this episode is, did Scorpia rescue the people she came for? And again, we'll find out hopefully later, maybe not. But so do you think this little quest they're going on through this underground tunnel area is going to lead them to the immemorial city where Eric is? Or do you think that they're going to come up and then still have this gigantic distance to go?
It wouldn't surprise me if it leads them right to it.
Me too. Because there was a lot of stuff that happened in this episode that was like, wait, are they close to where Eric is? Because those two statues look similar.
Yeah. I think, either at the end of the next episode or the at least beginning of episode 8, like, we'll find our way in the Memorial City. Because there has to be them coming to a head.
Right.
And Eric is now evil, and there's going to be this whole,
Or at least we're speculating Eric is going to be evil by the time they get there. Because there's only episodes 7 and 8 left. So, 2 episodes. So we'll see if this all comes to a head, or if they're banking on a season 2 to resolve this issue, which I don't really see how they could.
And it's okay if they do have a season 2, as long as they have some sort of setup confrontation. Like, we need to lead into it somehow. So either way, I'm really excited for 7 and 8. I think they're both going to be pretty fun, and hopefully we get a bit more development with Laura Dannon's character, out of her just, I suck at magic, I'm good at magic, kind of that back and forth. Like, hopefully at this point it's like, I need to learn, and she actually sits down and like has Willow teach her.
Right. I mean, at this point, I'm just hoping that Allura kind of shapes up, that Kit kind of rounds the corner and stops becoming my least favorite character.
Yes.
Because I don't mean to be down on her every episode, but without fail so far, every episode there's something she does that just annoys me.
Last
episode 5, she was okay.
Yeah.
But even this episode, when you were okay with her argument against Laura, I was like, really, Kit, again? But
I know.
We'll see.
They have to have something between them.
Yeah.
They're going to end up, it's going to be one of those things like they've never seen eye to eye. Kit's never liked her.
They're going to have to save Eric, yeah.
Yeah, they're going to have to come together to save my brother, my love. Yeah, it's going to be nice. So, it's okay.
All right, so that's going to be it for our coverage of Willow episode 6. So this is going to be 2 nerds signing off. See ya.
See ya.